And welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our 5 best bets for the college basketball slate here on November 23rd. Of course, again, Saturday is usually college football day, but still, of course, there's college basketball here as well. And of course, we're doing this every single day on the channel until the end of the college basketball season. So that means from here all the way until March. Yes, I know I signed up for this, but I'm perfectly fine with it. We're giving you best bets every day for college basketball. We, had a huge hit yesterday with Duke beating Arizona. We obviously had Tennessee beating Baylor as well. So let's keep it moving. Again, here on this Saturday slate of games. And folks, if you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for some more college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, in about an hour or two, we will have our NBA predictions that are, of course, daily on the channel as well. Our NFL predictions were posted earlier in the week. Obviously, you got the games tomorrow. You got the games today for college football. So that link is in the description down below. And now let's get into the first of our 5 best bets. And we start things off with a game between the ranked Cincinnati Bearcats, who are currently 18th in the country, taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, who of course are unranked, 2-2, coming off their loss to Georgia in their last game. And yes, we are siding with the Jackets to cover the 7.5 points, but we are taking the Bearcats to win the basketball game. I get it. Again, Georgia Tech just lost by 8 points in their last game to a Georgia team that obviously is unranked. But Cincinnati hasn't blown me away yet this season. I know for sure, again, Cincinnati is the better team, and they are the better team on paper as well. Again, came into this year ranked. Obviously, they're 18th in the country, but their 4 wins so far this season are against lowly opponents, and they haven't looked that great in those games either. I mean, it's a win over Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Morehead State, Nichols, and Northern Kentucky. Again, the Northern Kentucky win by 16 points. The Nichols win 86-49. I get it. Georgia Tech hasn't been all that impressive either, right? They've got the win over West Georgia, then the loss to North Florida, I know. Win over Texas Southern, then the loss against Georgia. But this game is being played in Atlanta, so it's a virtual home game. It is a home game for the Yellow Jackets in this game. And again, I think they are able to keep this game close. Don't get me wrong. Again, I like the Bearcats to win the basketball game, but I do think 7.5 points is just too much. I know, again, Georgia Tech was an extremely disappointing team last year in the ACC. Cincinnati was a team that made it far in the NIT before losing to the Indiana State Sycamores, and obviously they went somewhat far in the Big 12 tournament, beating West Virginia, then beating Kansas, but then again running into the Baylor Bears. Eventually that's again where they lost, but I think Georgia Tech's able to keep this game competitive. I just feel like 7.5 points is too much. Don't get me wrong. Again, I think Cincinnati is the better team. I do think Cincinnati wins this basketball game. They've played well their first 4 games of the season. I just think, again, Georgia Tech is able to keep this game close because it is at home for them as well. Again, I completely understand they just lost by 8 points to Georgia. Sometimes, again, the math doesn't always make sense for the lines. I just think, again, Georgia Tech's able to stay competitive in this game. It's an early game on Saturday. I think Georgia Tech stays in the ball game, but I do think as a whole, the Bearcats do end up winning it. So we're going again with Cincinnati to win, but we do like Georgia Tech to win, to cover the spread in this game. Next up, we move on to Long Beach State and Fresno State. Now, if you've been watching the best bets here on the channel, we like to pick a lot of, not West Coast Conference basketball, but a lot of, again, games on the West Coast, because, I'm on the West Coast, and I, usually get to watch these teams, and I'm more familiar with these teams, I'll be completely honest with you, than some of these other teams on the other side of the country. Don't get me wrong, I do watch a lot of college basketball, but these teams out here, I do think I'm more familiar with. Now, I understand I made a bad read in our last pick of Long Beach State here on the channel. Yes, I did pick them to cover against probably the best team right now in college basketball in Gonzaga. That was a bad read. The first half wasn't looking that bad, and then, just all fell apart for the Beach in that game. Hear me out. We're taking the Beach to beat Fresno State in this game. Yeah, we are. They are favored. It's because Fresno sucks, guys. And I get it. Long Beach is pretty bad too. But let's just compare these two teams so far this season. Fresno State has beat Sacramento State. Sometimes I forget Sac State even has a basketball team. I'm going to be completely honest with you because, again, they're right next to Davis, obviously. Davis is in the Big West, and Sac State finds themselves in the Big Sky, and they're never really, a contender or a player in the Big Sky. Anyways, Sac State's 1-3 this season. That's Fresno's first win. Then they lose to UCSB. Santa Barbara beats them by 5 points. Then they lose at Cal State Bakersfield by 18 points. I don't think Cal State Bakersfield should be that much better than Fresno, but they are. And then they beat Prairie View A&M. Not an impressive team. You look at what the Beach has done this season. I get it. They've been absolutely atrocious. They beat Laverne in their first game, lost to our guys over there in Brookings, South Dakota. Obviously, we're talking about the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. They lost at USF against San Francisco. They lose to Portland at home by 2 points. But then after that, they lose to Gonzaga, obviously, by more than 43 the exact number on that. Hear me out. These are two bad basketball teams, but we're taking the better of the two bad teams in the Beach. Trust me, they're just the better squad. Devin Askew, again, it's his 5th year playing college basketball, but if we're going to get anything out of Askew here at the Beach this season, it should be, some winning mentality of sorts. Again, the Beach has no business losing to Fresno State. This team won the Big West last season. I get it. They completely overhauled their team in the offseason. Their school, the AD, basically gave up on their basketball team prior to the Big West tournament that they eventually won. Obviously, they had their coach fired and whatnot. They ended up losing again in the first round of the tournament to, oh God, who did they play? I said it when they played Gonzaga. I completely forgot who they played. They lost to Arizona. They got blown out. And I get it. Again, Long Beach State was a conference tournament, or was a conference champion last year with 14 losses, but still, they won the Big West. Fresno State has been horrible in basketball pretty much my entire lifetime. I've never remembered Fresno being all that good. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm trying to think right now and look back through Fresno's records over the past couple years. When's the last time Fresno State has been in the NCAA? Let's look this up. Fresno State NCAA tournament history. I don't know when the last time they've been in the tourney. Has it's been within my... Oh, they were in 2016. Okay, they've been in the tournament once in my entire lifetime. They were a 13 seed and lost by 11 points to Utah. That had to have been when Paul George was there, right? It was after Paul... They didn't make the tournament with Paul George? Yeah, that goes to show where Fresno State basketball is. And you know what? Fresno State, real quick tangent on Fresno State. But Fresno State, man, the amount of talent that's walked through the doors over there at I was going to call them Cal State Fresno. At Fresno State's absolutely insane. Think about it. Aaron Judge played baseball here. Paul George played basketball here. And Devonta Adams and Derek Carr played football here. And that's not even to mention guys like Jake Hayner, right? And other, again, professional sporting talent. But literally stars, and it depends if you want to call Derek Carr a star, but Devonta Adams, Aaron Judge, Paul George, all played at Fresno State. Anyways, Fresno State still sucks. Give me the Beach in this game. We're going with Devin Askew, the 5th-year senior. We're going with TJ Wainwright and the guys. I get it. They have trouble scoring sometimes, but we're going to go with the Beach, and we're going to trust the Beach to win this basketball game. So give me Long Beach State to win at home. That's another thing, too. They're in their little pyramid over there at Long Beach. They should be able to win this game at home. Long Beach State is getting 2.5, and we are taking the Beach in this one. As we move on to our next game here, we move on to UCSD taking on Toledo. This is an neutral site game. This is the finals of, I'll be completely honest with you, I don't know what they're calling this tournament. It's in Daytona Beach. Oh, is this the basketball classic? No, not the basketball classic. Oh God, what are they calling it? I watched Toledo and Jack State today. And Jack State choking their lead today against Toledo, or yesterday against Toledo, is the exact reason why they are banned. What tournament? What is it called? I don't even know what the tournament's called. Regardless, this is the finals of the tournament. It's Toledo taking on UCSD. I think Toledo's the better basketball team. After watching Toledo yesterday against Jacksonville State, given, Toledo came back from a huge deficit and they almost choked it at the end as well. Jerron Pierre had a shot to win the game for Jack State at the end of it, but still, Toledo picks up the victory. They are 5-1. They've won 5 straight since their first game of the season where they lost to the Troy Trojans. They beat Marshall. They beat Wright State. They beat Detroit Mercy, who, again, I know is horrible. They beat Stetson in the first round of the tournament, then Jacksonville State, and now they get the University UC San Diego. For UCSD, they beat LaSalle and they beat James Madison. Now here they are. They were able to stay competitive and really competitive with San Diego State in their first game of the season. They blew out Pepperdine, beat Sac State by 10 points, and then lost to Seattle University. For UCSD, Tyler McGee is their leading scorer. He's averaging 18 points a game so far this season. And then you got Aniwanda Tate Jones as well, who's averaging 18. You get 12 out of Norden Kapik. For Toledo, though, I just think they're the better team. They have opportune three-point shooting, as was seen in that Jacksonville State game. I felt like every time late in that fourth quarter when Jacksonville State was trying to make a push to, again, get closer to Toledo always hit that big three, whether it was Sam Lewis or Sonny Wilson or even Isaiah Adams. I mean, I felt like, again, Toledo was just able to hit that big shot at the right time, and that's ultimately why I think they beat UCSD. Again, I think Toledo's the better team. Are they the best team in the MAC right now? Probably not. I think they're up there. I think Kent State's probably the best team in the Mid-American right now. I think if I had to give one, if I had to, make it say a team's the best right now in the Mid-American, trust me, we'll get to Kent State in just a few moments. I think Kent State's probably the best team in the MAC. I don't know. We'll see again when conference play happens. I would take Kent State over Toledo right now. Obviously, Kent State beat them in the Mid-American tournament last year. But as for this game, I do think Toledo's better than UCSD. Again, I like the shooting out of Toledo. I think, again, they are a high-scoring team. They have scored over 82 points in their last 5 games. UCSD, again, not a horrible team in their own right, but I just don't think they're able to match the firepower, at least offensively and, scoring-wise, that the Toledo Rockets have. That's why I think Toledo ultimately will win this basketball game. I do think UCSD is able to compete with them, but as a whole, I do like Toledo a lot to win this basketball game. So give me Toledo to win this tournament finals. It's in Daytona Beach, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's in Daytona Beach. I could be completely wrong with that. Let me find it real quick. God, where is this game being played? I think it's Daytona Beach, right? Yeah. I don't quite remember. It's the Boardwalk Battle. There we go. The Boardwalk Battle Tournament Championship is going to the Toledo Rockets. We like them to beat UCSD and bring home that tournament crown. All right, next up, we move on to our 4th game of the video, and we stay in the Mid-American Conference because, again, we like the MAC. We're going with the Kent State Golden Flashes to beat the Cleveland State Vikings. And again, this is not football, so we don't have to fade Kent State in every single game they play. Kent is going on the road to Cleveland State. I mean, Kent is literally like 40 minutes away from Cleveland, so it's not that big of a road trip. But yes, the Cleveland State Vikings do get this home game. Cleveland State might be one of the worst offensive teams in college basketball right now. They are horrible in terms of scoring the basketball. I watched them play Minnesota. It was abysmal. They were in it in the first half and completely just couldn't make a shot in the second half. I watched them play K-State. I watched them play Michigan. They can't score. Sure, they looked better in their games over Valpo and Eastern Michigan, but Kent State, again, is the premier of the MAC, of the Mid-American tournament, of the Mid-American Conference right now. I mean, again, Akron, I would say, is probably the team that is better than them if you want to, give a, if you want to move away from Kent State being the best team in the conference, you could probably say it's Akron. But I do think Kent State is all that. I truly think they are. I think they're a good team this season. And I get it. They played Niagara close in their last game. They lost to Auburn. They beat the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana in their first game. But this is my thing. Kent State's able to score, guys. Von Cameron Davis, Morgan Satford, Jalen Sullinger. They've got guys who can score. Obviously, Davis is going to be their leading guy. He's averaging 17 so far this season. He led them in both the Auburn and the Louisiana games. For Cleveland State, they just don't have guys who can score. Tevin Smith, their senior out of Danville, Illinois, I would say is by far their premier guy on offense. He is a Denver transfer who's now here playing his 2nd season with the Cleveland State Vikings. But beyond him, and then, I guess some games Dylan Arnett will give them points as well. Their junior forward out of Chicago. But other than those two guys, Cleveland State really struggles to score. And that's, again, what happened in the second half of the Minnesota game. They were competitive in that first half at Minneapolis, but as soon as, again, there was a flip that was switched, and all of a sudden Cleveland State could not get anything going scoring-wise, I do think Kent State wins this basketball game. I'm not going to say they're going to easily do it, but I just think, again, what Kent State has is a lot better than what Cleveland State has, and matchup-wise, again, I think the Golden Flashes match up really well against Cleveland State. The biggest thing to that is I don't think Cleveland State is able to score. I do think Kent State is able to effectively score the basketball. So give me the Golden Flashes out of the Mid-American Conference to go to the Wolstein Center and to go to the Horizon League Zone Cleveland State and win this basketball game. And obviously they'll cover the 1.5 points as well, with them being, oh no, they are favored. But still, sure, give me the 1.5 point favorites in this game in the Kent State Golden Flashes. Let's go on to our final game. This one, hits close to home because it is. The Santa Clara Broncos taking on Stanford. So within the last week, I've watched both of these teams play. I went to Stanford versus Norfolk State, and I went to Santa Clara versus UC Riverside. I've been to 2 Santa Clara games this season. I watched them play North Dakota State as well, and I've watched pretty much every single Santa Clara game so far this season. Stanford, I've watched a couple of their games. I watched them play Davis, just on TV, obviously, and then I watched them play Cal State Fullerton as well, along again with their win over Norfolk State, which I saw in person. Stanford's so unimpressive, guys. They are the worst 5-0 team in college basketball right now. Trust me. They are abysmal. Maxime Reynaud is good. Again, he is league bound, I would say. But other than him, guys, this team sucks. They're so bad. Stanford is not good. I watched them play Norfolk State, okay? Norfolk State got robbed in that game. They did not get a single call that entire game. And just listen to these stats and just think about it again. Norfolk State was a 20.5-point underdog in that game. They had chances to win that game. But anyways, the Spartans from Norfolk State shot 44% from the field, 31% from three-point land. Okay, they lose the game by 7 points. But what does Stanford do in this game? They shoot 33% from the field and 23% from beyond the arc. That number's a little bit inflated because they did catch fire at the end of that game, but just listen to the free throw total too. Norfolk State shot 11 free throws. Stanford shot 37. I don't know. Watching that game in person, and by the way, going to the Maples Pavilion, it's kind of sad because nobody's there. There was literally like 1,000 people at that game. Stanford's not good. Their crowd's not into it either, but they're just not a good team. They're 5-0, but they have played 5 unimpressive basketball teams so far this season. Santa Clara has played some good teams, and I get it, they're 2-3, but look at the teams Santa Clara has played. St. Louis, Arizona State, North Dakota State, Nevada, UCR, whatever. Riverside has held their own. They've, played Cal Baptist and beat them and whatnot, whatever, right? Santa Clara is the much better basketball team. Just they are. Don't get confused about the records here. Home court advantage is not going to play too much of a difference. Obviously, Stanford is literally 40 minutes less, about 40 minutes away from the University of Santa Clara. Adama Alpha Ball, of course, is the leading scorer for Santa Clara. He's all right. I like Elijah Mahi and what he's able to do. I'm going to be honest with you. I get it. Alpha Ball is supposed to be their star. Elijah Mahi has been, when I've gone and watched Santa Clara in person, he's been the guy really leading the charge for Santa Clara. They do have their nights where they aren't able to score, but I do think, again, Mahi is their best guy, even though, again, I understand it's supposed to be Adama Alpha Ball, but just so far this season, at least the games I've watched, it has been Mahi, at least in person. I trust me, I know how good Ball is, but just the games I've seen, Mahi's been the better player. They've got Christoph Tilley at center, obviously. Cameron Tung comes off the bench, plays really good minutes for this basketball team as well. He is a very good scorer off the bench for Santa Clara. And yeah, Santa Clara's a very volume shooting team. Again, when they get hot, they're really good, but they will just have nights like the North Dakota State game where they will completely fall apart and not be able to hit shots for minutes on end. Regardless, I do think the Broncos win this basketball game. Just watching both these teams, again, I was at both these teams' last games. I'm not going tonight, just because I'll be honest with you, I'd rather watch All Elite Wrestling. But I'm going to pick Santa Clara, and I'm all behind Santa Clara to win this basketball game. I just think they're the better team. They do get this game at home, if that means anything. I don't know if the horse force, I made that up. I don't know if the Broncos are, the Bronco fans are going to get going for this game. They have their collection of frat guys behind the basket doing their little jumping jacks to try to distract the opposing teams, which, is it corny? Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that. I like Santa Clara to win the game. I think they're the better team. Stanford is an abysmal shooting team. They are all they are all Reynaud. Past Maxime Reynaud, they are not a good basketball team. Santa Clara, they got Mahi, they got Christoph Tilley, they got Adama Alpha Ball. They will be fine in this basketball game, and they will definitely beat the Stanford Cardinal. I don't think Stanford's very good. If you had to match up all the Bay Area basketball teams, I don't know if Stanford's in the top 3. I'll be honest with you. And I don't think San Francisco's very good this season. But I'm taking Cal. I'm taking Santa Clara. The one for me would be Stanford versus Santa Clara. Stanford versus San Francisco. That's close, but I definitely don't think Stanford is in the top 2 teams in the Bay Area. I'll be honest. By the way, San Jose State is a very far last place, though. Don't get it twisted. Regardless, give me the Santa Clara Broncos to win this basketball game. They will get the victory at home at the Levy Center over the Stanford Cardinal. And folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets here for November 23rd for college basketball. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.